In this video, we're going to take a look at the deceased contacts that either have the active or the preferred or the secondary box checked. And I'm in production and I've got this report and I'm looking at how many records we have, 157. So I'm going to go into the full sandbox and run the same report. And in here, I only have 74 records. So it's not that much different. In the full sandbox, we are looking at how the formal account outside and inside is going to change when the deceased contacts are marked as inactive and the preferred and secondary contact boxes are unchecked, right? So these are all the fields on the account object, and then we get to the contact, and these are the fields on the contact. So in this sandbox, we are not using the formal account outside and formal account inside as of right now, because those were the fields that Amanda's process builders were populating, and we have her process builders inactive, and they will also be inactive in production. So we have our code updating the formal account outside expected and formal account inside expected. So those are really the two fields during this test that we want to check. We're not really checking the formal account outside and formal account inside. But when we push all this to production, we're not going to have our expected fields anymore. Our code will populate the salutations right into the formal account outside and formal account inside. So it's a little bit different, but we're still testing in the sandbox here. So what I want to do is I want to update these 74 records so that the contact, inactive, preferred, and secondary boxes are all unchecked. So I'm going to go ahead and export this in CSV and get the spreadsheet prepared. All right, so I have my contact ID, so I'm going to import that field as well as active, preferred, and secondary. So active should all be 0. So I'm just copy that value all the way down. And preferred and secondary should also be 0. So I'm going to copy that value all the way down. And I'm going to save this. That's what I'm going to use to do my import or update. But before I do that, I want to take a look at the process builders that are active for the contact object. And I want to make sure that I deactivate them, because whenever we do a mass upload, if there's a lot of records, those process builders will fail. So I'm going to sort by object, and I'm going to look at the contact object to see, do we have any active process builders? So here we have one. This is the unchecked preferred secondary contact box. So this is the process builder that moving forward after we do the mass update, anytime a contact is deceased or not active, then this is going to make sure that the active box, the preferred box, and the secondary box is all false. So I'm actually doing that in my mass update. So of course I don't want this to fire. So I'm going to deactivate this, and then I'll reactivate it when we're done. So that's the first process builder on the contact that I need to deactivate. Now, is there anything else that's active? Okay, this one, this passport sync contacts. So I want to see which version, if there's multiple versions, is active. That way I can reactivate the right version. Okay, so it's the version 2 is the one that's active. So I'm taking a look at this and I'm trying to figure out what is this doing. So it's when the offer is not null, and that create date is null. Start date is not null. Membership ID does not equal the contact number. First name is not null. Active is true. Deceased is false. And minor children is false. So because all of the contacts that we're updating, they're all deceased, so their deceased box equals true, this process builder shouldn't fire. So technically we probably could leave it active, but we can try it. And I would usually deactivate all the process builders on the object if I'm doing a mass update, but I don't think this one's going to fire anyways because the deceased box has to be true. I mean, has to be false. So in our report, the deceased box is true. So I'm not gonna worry about that. If we have any issues, I'll go ahead and deactivate it, but I don't think we're gonna have issues. So I'd say we're ready to go with the mass upload, and it's only gonna be one API call because I can do these all within a regular batch of 200, right? It's 74 records. So I've got my data loader ready. I went to settings, and I've got the batch size of 200. I'm not using bulk API because I don't need to in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and update, and I want to find the contact object. And my downloads should be this last report here, 1287. Yeah. Duplicate column is found. Let's change these up a little bit. I'm going to just delete these in our file so we don't have any duplicate columns because sometimes they don't like that. So I'm going to just get rid of these too. These are just on the account, so all I care about are the contact fields anyways. Okay, 74 records. And in here, I always like to click the label just to make it in alphabetical order. So all I really care about is the active box on the contact, right? I'm going to map that to active in my spreadsheet. And then I want the preferred, let's see, contact ID and the preferred and secondary. Preferred contact, it's probably down here. And secondary contact. So active, ID, preferred contact, secondary contact. Now I'm going to save this mapping so that I can do this in production and not have to map those fields again. So I'm going to say update deceased contacts WHRO so that I can use this again. All right, so here I'm just verifying. Secondary is mapped to secondary, active is mapped to active, preferred is mapped to preferred, and ID. So I don't think we'll have any problems with this. We'll see. Okay, so there were 74 successes and no errors. So that's exactly what we wanted. Now we can close the spreadsheet and let's go back to our report and refresh it. So now we don't have any deceased contacts where the active or preferred or secondary box is checked. So that solved that problem. And I am going to leave this unchecked preferred secondary box process builder inactive for the next test that we need to do in the next video.